So I'm going to show you a fantastic dish. It is a seared scallop dish with an apple and celeriac salad, a brown butter vinaigrette, watercress and toasted hazelnuts. It's an absolutely stunning dish that has a couple of techniques that I'd really like to show you from up close. This masterclass is all about showing you the details. It's all about showing you exactly how these dishes are made. All the dishes that I'm going to be teaching you are going to be fairly simple. They don't have too many ingredients, but where the trick lays is in making sure that you get the details right. It's making sure that you have those beautiful scallops and cook them to perfection. Making sure that your brown butter is just toasted to the right degrees so that it has that beautiful aroma of nuts. Use that watercress, wash it nicely, make sure it is fresh. And when you take care of those kind of details, some of the simplest dishes can really be elevated to be absolutely outstanding. So I'm going to show you right now. We're going to start with the scallops. We're going to do a little bit of prep and you will see that in no time we have an absolutely amazing starter that would impress your family, would impress your friends and would impress basically anyone that will come to your kitchen and have a dinner. This masterclass is all about giving you the confidence. It's all about making sure that you know what you're doing. That once those scallops hit the pan and they sizzle and they caramelize and they get that browning, that you know you're on the right track. You know that this dish is going to be absolutely stunning because you've taken care of those details. You have made sure that you've done your preparations, and that is going to make the difference between the everyday cook and somebody that is going to make something delicious. So let's go. We have a thick bottom skillet. We have a couple of pots and pans ready that we're going to be doing the brown butter in, and I'm going to start off with showing you how to clean the scallops. So from your fishmonger, ask for the biggest ones. Always look for the freshest. Make sure that they're nice and white. Make sure that they look nice and big, plump, fresh. Smell them if you like, because you want to make sure that you get home the absolute best of the best. These are gorgeous, they're large. And I'm going to just start with taking off a little bit of the sinews. So these scallops, they're stuck in their shell, and there's always going to be a little bit of extra on the side that is not really delicious, and we want to be peeling that off. I'll just do it very gently because these are delicate. The scallops, they can easily break, which is not exactly what we want. We really want to make sure that we keep them whole, so they're going to be beautiful in the pan. They won't lose their juice as well as you sear them. Very gently. Make sure that we keep all the beautiful bits intact. There's going to be a little bit of brown stuff on the sides. That's what got stuck to the shell. We don't really want that. Just a bit on the side we want to take off. You just stay with the absolute prime, that gorgeous, gorgeous muscle from the scallops. These are beautiful and clean. No need really to rinse or to wash, but we do want to dry them up. That before they hit the pan, they're beautiful and dry, and we'll season them with a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt. Just 1 or 2 sheets, don't need much. And we'll lay that out and put your scallops on top. Little tissue on top. Make sure that all that moisture is gone. It's going to be really important for when it hits the pan, because when we're going to be searing, the more moisture there is, the more it will caramelize and you will get things in the pan that you don't really want that can burn easily. To get a perfectly seared scallop, they need to be nice and dry with a very thin coat of oil, just a little bit of salt and a really hot pan, and that's going to make all the difference. And that's really what I'm trying to teach you. What I would try to say is everybody can put a scallop in the pan. Everybody can whack a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. But where it comes is to that little detail, to make sure that you really take care of those scallops before. Make sure that you really take care when they go in the pan. And then you're going to have the best result. They're going to be gorgeous and crunchy. They're going to be really nice and brown. They'll have that flavor of roasted scallop, which you will smell in the room, which is going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to go on the salad. So we'll need to prepare our celeriac. We'll need to prepare our apple. And we're going to be toasting the hazelnuts. They're going to go into the oven on 180 degrees for about 7 to 8 minutes, so they can just get a little light browning for afterwards in our vinaigrette. I'm a big fan of setting timers, and I think you should do this at home as well. It's really quite important that you don't forget about these things, especially when you're entertaining. When you have lots to do, you might have a few kids running around. It's quite easy to forget about a couple of hazelnuts that you were toasting in the oven. So I always try to get little reminders for myself whenever I put meat, fish, or let's say a nut in the oven. So at about 7 or 8 minutes, I'll make sure that I'm not overburning these hazelnuts and they're gonna be toasted to perfection. We don't want them to turn bitter, nor do we want to have them under toasted and not really have the delicious flavor of a toasted nut. So for the celeriac, quite simply cut off the skin. We don't need quite all of it. Now in the meantime, we can do our brown butter. So we have a little pot and about 25-50 grams of butter that we're going to cook. So for the brown butter, we'll place it over the fire and we'll have to keep a close eye because there's a very small temperature difference between perfectly toasted and burnt. So we'll turn on the butter on a small fire, slowly let it cook. We'll let it come up, it's going to start to bubble, and then these egg whites are going to caramelize, and that is what we're really looking for, because these caramelized egg whites are going to give a beautiful nutty aroma, and that together with our toasted hazelnuts that are still in the oven is going to give us a beautiful base for the vinaigrette sauce. I always take my time with the brown butter. It's better to have it on a low fire and cook it slowly because there's just a better chance of getting it perfect, and it's just a couple of degrees that you really don't want to miss out on. So we've cleaned this up nicely all the way around, all the little bits are off, it's perfect and white. As we said, we're not really going to need all of it, and we're simply going to grate with long strokes so you get nice long bits into the bowl. And that's what I love about this dish, because it is so simple. You just clean up the celeriac, we'll do the same with the apple, we'll grate the salad. You don't need too many knife skills, although I will be teaching you plenty of knife skills throughout this course. But all in all, this salad won't take you more than half an hour. From start to finish, prepare to serve. Do another bit. Depending on how many you're cooking for, we'll make it in the recipes are all based for 2 persons. But you can make for 4, you just double down on the recipe. That should be more than enough for us for today. Then for the green apple, I'm gonna take a little bit of the peel in the middle, because we don't really want too much of the apple peel. I do like the skin because it is green, it's full of vitamins, full of flavor. Just don't want too much of it in our salad. Also on the box grater, I'm gonna make long strokes. And whilst you're stroking, you give it small turns so we don't really grate up the seed bits. In the meantime, my butter is going perfectly, so it's bubbling, it's going. Cannot smell it yet, and that's what we're looking for. I always try to test just by smelling. Wave your hand above, smell the aroma. See if that nuttiness is coming through yet. It's not yet there, but you will see that in a matter of minutes, this is going to turn into a beautiful brown butter. I've already prepared a small pot with a little strainer in it. So when it is on that perfect caramel point, we'll pour it over, we'll stop the cooking. Right away we reduce the heat and make sure that it doesn't overcook and we don't end up with a bitter butter. See how that foam comes up? I find that gorgeous. I'm going to stick with it now. Because if I'm going to end up doing something else, I might forget, I might overcook it, and that is not what we want. Just require a little bit of patience, and that's where the love comes in for me. You know, you want to make sure that you get it right. You don't want to do too many things at the same time. This is something that requires that tiny bit of attention, that tiny bit of precision and detail that really will set you apart from the everyday home cook into a chef, into a cook that can do different things, in a cook that is confident in the kitchen and that can really produce a gorgeous menu, and that will be you by the end of this course. There you see, it's browning. You can start to smell it already. It's perfect like that. We'll pour it off and we will have our brown butter ready. We'll just leave that to cool down, and later on we're going to mix that with the hazelnuts. We're going to mix in a little bit of parsley, a little bit of vinegar, and it's going to be a delicious sauce. The hazelnuts are just going to need another minute, so we'll leave them in there. We'll leave our butter to cool down. We're going to continue with our scallops. So we have all 6 of them, nice and dry, and then it's time to go and put on the seasoning. So we're going to use some oil, a little bit of salt. I'm not going to put the pepper yet. because the pepper is going to burn in the pan because you use quite a high heat and we don't want that pepper to burn and become black. It will lose all its aroma and all its flavor. So we'll season first with a bit of salt in the oil, then we're going to add our black pepper at the end when the scallops are already done. So you do have that flavor and that delicious pepper aroma coming through, but it's not going to burn or look ugly in the pan. Wonderful. They don't need much, they just need a little color. Also, we really don't want to over toast them. It's really important that we don't get these things overcooked because they're going to start tasting bitter and can really ruin the dish in this case. So, hazelnuts done, butter done. It's time to go and sear the scallops and finish our salad with a little bit of the dressing. We're going to be picking the watercress and we'll be finishing up this plate and we're going to be serving an amazing scallop dish. We want that pan to be hot. I have a really thick bottomed cast iron skillet, but I would recommend any type of non-stick pan that you have at home, always thick bottoms, because you want to make sure that that heat retains. Once you put a cold scallop in the pan, the heat can reduce and it can start to cook the scallops in the pan, and that is something that we really don't want. Searing is about high temperature, getting that scallop in, and then let it sizzle in a tiny bit of oil, and it's going to become a beautiful caramelized crunch on the top, which is really going to bring out all that beautiful sea flavor, and that is what's going to make the difference when you do the searing. I'm not using any butter in this case. I find that the butter in the vinaigrette has already that butteriness that we'll be looking for. So we're searing them just with a little bit of oil. It's a sprinkle. We don't need much. And we're going to use a tiny bit of fine salt. Very precise. One of the things I find super important with cooking anything, from a salad to a steak to a piece of fish, is that when it comes to the seasoning, again, you have to make sure that you pay attention. You have to do it precise. Every little bit has to be coated with the tiniest amount of salt. We don't want lots of salt on one part and then the rest to be under-seasoned. It has to go carefully, precise, not too much, but just enough to make sure that you're going to bring out all the flavors from those scallops. We're going to start finishing up the salad. Add a drop of vinegar, a touch of olive oil, sprinkle of salt. Mix it all together. Very important, taste. Nobody can cook and know exactly how something is going to turn out if you don't taste. Really, the job of a chef in the end is tasting. You make something, you taste. If it's not perfect, you adjust. Do you need a little bit more salt? You can only know if you taste. It's delicious. It's lacking a tiny bit of freshness. Gonna add a little drop of vinegar. Bit more olive oil. Not a touch of salt. I think you can really handle it. Mix it all together really well. It's a refreshing, delicious salad. So simple to make, but it's going to combine really well with that toasted scallop that is going to come out of the pan. We're going to want to take care of our watercress. This one is already washed. We're going to be choosing just the most beautiful tops. We want to make sure that we only use the best of the best. This is the decoration, but it's also going to add flavor. The pepperiness of watercress is something that that dish can really use. We already have some sweetness, we have crunchiness, we have butteriness, we have the seafood. The only thing that is missing is that little peppery bite, I'd say. And watercress is one of those ingredients that is just stellar. It can really add an extra dimension to a dish. It is so simple to add. Has to be done with care though, because if you use too much watercress, it can overpower almost anything as well. So we want to be choosing beautiful fine tops. Young leaves, they're less intense than the really big ones and thick ones. They'll garnish most beautifully, but they also eat the best. Here, our pan, very nice, very hot. And we're going to be adding the scallops. I'll give them just a little swoosh around in the oil, make sure that everything is evenly coated. The salt is evenly spread. The oil is on all the sides, bit on the bottom, bit on the top, even the sides. It's caring for it. It's caring for the scallops, making sure that you have those details right. It's a simple dish. There's a few ingredients only here on the bench, but we want to make sure that we treat them with respect. We want to make sure that we cook them to perfection. And when they hit the pan, you can feel it. It's searing. You right away smell it. The pan is at the right temperature, it's boiling hot. We'll have a clean tray prepared, so when they come out of the pan, they can go onto a clean tray, they can leave to rest there. And then we're going to be checking. Want to check if that caramelization is going through nicely. We just need another minute, tiny bit more. Have the patience. I think it cooks about 3/4 on the first side, and that is something that I very often do with seafood, with fish. If you're doing on a skin side, then you want to be cooking for a long time, so you get a really nice crunch. You turn them over and that heat will come up from the bottom. It'll cook to perfection. The middle will be just right. And you will end up with a nice caramelization, a crunch on the top, which is going to give all that flavor and what's really going to make these scallops stand out from the crowd. There they go. Incredibly nice roast. It is nice and brown. It's not burnt and not black. There they go. Turn them all over. We can reduce the heat. It only needs to bring up that warmth from the bottom to cook it down into the center until they're perfectly done. When I feel they're there, I'll just move them over to the tray. They can have a little rest. Sometimes a little bit of liquid come out. We don't want that to end up on our plate. It will spoil the plate. This will absorb those juices that flow out, and then after we'll be ready for the plating. All there's left to do, finish our vinaigrette, chop the hazelnuts, cut a little bit of parsley, add the vinegar into the vinegar, add the vinegar into that butter, and they'll be ready for plating. Now the hazelnuts, I like to keep them quite big. You can just kind of cut them in half, quarter if you like. They're gonna bring some texture to this dish, something that is required, the freshness of the apple, that lovely celeriac, the refreshing sauce, and then crunchy hazelnuts bursting through together with the watercress. It's gonna give you something out of this world. I'm gonna be taking the scallops out of the pan very gently. Don't want to break them. Want to make sure that they stay in tip-top shape. They are gorgeous like that. Quick hit with the pepper mill. Just a tiny touch. We'll be adding the hazelnuts to the brown butter, the vinegar, a typical to the brown butter, add a little touch of salt. We've left it here for a little bit so it cools down because that butter was really hot, and now we're going to be adding some fresh parsley. We don't want it to cook into the butter, let's say, so we'll wait until the last minute, just before serving. Gonna add some freshly chopped parsley, gonna make this vinaigrette really gorgeous. It has different textures, different colors, different consistencies, and that sauce is really gonna bring this together. Fresh curly parsley. Now there's a little trick when you cut herbs, and for me it is in the preparation. So we've picked some herbs, we've already washed them, and now what you want to do is you want to keep it together with your fingers as tight as possible. Pack it all in under your fingers. See if you can manage that to hold it all together. And then with your knife you use your cutting techniques where you cut it off your fingers. Knuckles have to stick out a little bit. I want to make sure we don't chop off those nails. It is a bit tricky with your fingers out there. Obviously you can chop it like that as well. Really no problem at all. You can do it the way you like. But a little trick of the preparation and keeping it together will speed up the process and will give you a really beautiful result. Then final to the dish, we have our scallops ready, we have our salad prepared, we have our vinaigrette sauce, we have our watercress. We're going to just be slicing up one more apple in really nice wafer-thin slices to decorate when we're finishing this dish, so we have some more elevation in the plate and it will look really nice and refreshing. Alright, and then it's time to plate. One of the most exciting parts from any dish that you cook is actually the plating. You've been putting all that effort in, you've been making sure that you cooked everything to perfection, we've been making sure that we're taking care of those herbs, of those scallops, of that sauce, and now everything is done. It's the final details. And this is something that is very difficult for many people, and for any chef actually, to make a nice presentation. But what I really like to feel is that you should take the stress away from plating. You shouldn't really focus too much on how it's going to be looking to perfection. You should be looking how it's going to be looking delicious, how it's going to look like you want to dive into that dish, you know, you want to just eat it when it comes out. We can be really very precise with these things, but at this point, you want to make sure that your scallops are hot, that your salad is well seasoned, and we're just going to be putting on those final touches. You're going to have a delicious dish to eat. Look at it like you want to eat it, and that is what we want to achieve today with this presentation. So we're going to start really quite simple with putting our celeriac and apple salad nicely spread out, because this will be the base for our scallops. We're putting a little bit more of that, nice in a circle in the middle. We're going to want to add the scallops. Three pieces of gorgeous big fat scallops. Delicious. We're gonna make our apple slices. Nice and thin. They go in. We're gonna be adding our tops of the watercress. They are so important to me because they bring the pepperiness, the refreshing touch, but also beauty to the plate. And then the grande finale, the sauce. Almost any dish for me goes with the sauce. Whether it is a starter, a main course or dessert, it just always elevates it. It can bring together the flavors, it can bring together the scallops and the apple, but also that watercress. All these elements are important together and they are important to eat, and a sauce can really tie them together. And that's why I always put so much emphasis on the sauces. It has the beautiful toasted hazelnuts. They're gonna give that texture. It has the vinegar that's gonna bring a refreshing tone, cuts through the butter. Few more hazelnuts, just because they're yummy. And that will be it. Our seared scallops with an apple and celeriac salad and a brown butter and hazelnut vinaigrette. Good luck cooking this. I hope you're going to enjoy it. Think about those details. Think about the things that I said about the scallops. Think about the details about the butter. Don't let it burn. If you do smell that it has a burnt smell, start over. It's no problem. It happens to the best of us. It happens to me all the time. You're chatting, you're doing, your kids are running around. If you feel that you have messed up with any of those items, just start over. There's no problem at all. In this case, it's looking stunning. You should be able to make this after watching the video. Look at the instructions as well. Just check out the details. Everything is written that can give you little hints and little tips to make sure that your dish is gonna come out absolutely beautiful. I wish you all the best luck with this. Good luck cooking.